Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Steamship Authority's board meeting. Today is January 21st. And as is our wont, I will read a recording announcement at the beginning of the meeting to inform everyone that Falmouth Community Television, also known as FCTV, and Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, are making audio and video recordings of today's meeting. If anyone else is making an audio or video recording, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you're recognized, please state your name for the record.
Louisa
Hofstadter, the Vineyard Gazette.
You. Devin Aquinnah, Falmouth Enterprise. You. Okay.
Sonu, MB Times.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Also going to make the usual statement. I guess we can do this until we hear till the end of March with the government's order on Zoom. Yeah, okay, we'll see. Anyway, pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, as amended, Board Member Moira Tierney is participating remotely in today's meeting because her physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. Ms. Tierney is participating by the Zoom video conferencing app. All members will be clearly audible to each other. And as a result of the remote participation, any and all votes taken by members today shall be by roll call. And with that, I believe the topic right now is the minutes of the 16th meeting, the joint meeting in public session. Their approval of that?
It's shown that the audio, so we actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor by roll call, please.
Jones, aye.
Randy, aye.
Malkin, aye. Moira?
Tierney, aye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Minutes of the authority's December 30th meeting in public session as well. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
And it's been made and seconded. It comes to a vote.
Jones, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney,
No.
aye.
Malkin, aye, and thank you, Moira. Tierney, aye. Okay, we are looking for the Port Council to report on their meeting of January 7th.
Wow. Hi, good morning. I thought I was already on, but
Morning, Nat.
Okay, so we met on the 7th and Mr. Munson provided us with the update of the Aquinnah and the Monomoy and the recent work on the Aquinnah with the deck coatings and the lounge, the crew and the bridge equipment. And the Monomoy milestones include removal of the mid-body, which just got done, and the stability tests are anticipated for May of this year. Mr. Munson also provided us with an update on the Governor Dry Dock at Dame Shipyard. And Mr. Davis presented us with an update on the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction and about the stone wall as well, the historic wall, which you guys will be hearing about, which was quite interesting. Then Bob presented us with an update on the Vineyard Haven Pier project and what's going on with that, and the Conservation Commission determination. Mr. Coleman presented us with an update on the request for proposals for the reservation, the responses for the reservation system. And Miss Janik from Rafalis, we haven't seen them in a while. She was on giving us an update on the strategic plan progress. Mr. Driscoll presented us with a proposal with the high-speed ticket deal that we have. We voted to approve that, obviously, and you guys know about that. Allison provided us with an update on the Blue Line reservation only days on the Vineyard route. And Mr. Rosen presented us with the November business summary and the reauthorization of the authority's investment policy. And if there's any questions, I'm here for a few minutes. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nat. Anybody
Okay.
have any questions for Nat?
No, watched it.
Yeah, watched it as well. Thank you. It was a good
Thank
meeting.
you. Take care.
Appreciate it, Nat. Okay, just before we get into the meeting, I'd like to share with the board and anyone else that I've discussed with Mr. Davis that our format will be slightly different this year while I'm chair. One of the things that I'd like to do is have some more time for general discussion about specific issues. And so I've asked the staff to see if our normal meetings that generally tend to run 2 hours or so could be compressed to an hour and a half. And then we spend a half hour doing a deep dive on a subject that the board will find to be important to get more detail about. So today, when we get to the end, towards the end of the first hour and a half, we're going to go into a deep dive on our strategic plan and make sure that we understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, how much of it we're doing, whether we have the people to do it, so on and so forth. We will look at hiring, retention, and staffing in February, and alternative fuels at hopefully a joint port council and board meeting in March. So with that underway, as the progress going forward, I'd like to turn to the general manager's report. Mr. Davis.
Good morning, everyone. So to begin with, as Mark Davis is coming up here to give an update on the vessels. In the room, in the barn here, Palmer Ave, is Mark Rosen, Terrence Keneally, Allison Fletcher, Sean Driscoll, Janice Kenefick, Stephen Coleman, and Tom Innes from Gibbous is also here, so along with Mark Amundson. So Mark will give a brief update on the goings on down in Alabama shipyard.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I guess it's a pretty cold day. They're expecting 3 to 5 inches of snow in Mobile today and tomorrow. So I guess the whole country is kind of in the middle of deep winter. Here's an update on the Aquinnah. We're completing the coating programs. There's one coat left to do on the main deck, and the coatings will be complete. Next slide, Sean. Just this is, well, seem repetitive from the Barnstable. This is a picture of the Vauxhall deck and anchor windlass. And this is prior to the ultra high pressure blasting at 35,000 PSI on the decks. And that has been completed and the first coatings have been applied. Next slide. The bridge, although we have a couple covers off, the bridge is complete. Next slide. So our upcoming milestones, the deck coatings, I'll bet because of weather, we have one more coat to do. The stability incline test is in prep for 31 January 2025. This will be an identical replication of the MV Barnstable. And upon approval of the incline test and stability proposals, we'll get a temporary approval to do our sea trials, and that will be based on the incline stability test. And so we're looking at in February of once all of our Coast Guard inspections and testing and DVTP testing, which is design verification test procedures for the vessel to go into a subchapter H passenger vessel. We'll start heading her south and north. And with that, any questions, anyone?
I have one question, Mark. The Barnstable, have we got our certificates on the Barnstable? Because I know they were tied up with the Coast Guard.
Yeah, we're completely certificated. She is presently going through Broadway and heading to Hyannis
And she'll be in service when?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, next we're, this is the MV Monomoy. She's in the very, probably, I'm gonna say, 40% through the process, her project. Next slide. So we have the 24-foot mid-body out of the vessel, and here with, the sponsons are now, the first sections have been installed on both the port and starboard side of the vessel. Next slide. And this is a cut of the 24-foot mid-body section out of the vessel. And once we have the sponsons and all the subdivision bulkheads in, we're going to bring in the SPMT. Those are the low-profile movers that lift the vessel and bring them together for final welding. Next slide. This is the stern section, which is inverted. It's complete. There'll be at some point very soon flipping that and installing that on the stern. Next slide. So the Monomoy milestones, the bulwark prefabrications completed, mid-body removal completed, the new stern fabrications completed. We're actually slightly ahead of schedule. That can be easily, with all the pre-work on the first two ships and the efficiencies that have been built in, we're actually doing very well on schedule on the Monomoy for stability test for May 2025 and subsequent sea trials thereafter. Okay, as far as the financial snapshot on this, we have change orders to the Aquinnah at 3.1 million and 3.8 million for the MV Barnstable. And the total project value of all the vessels are at 78.3 million. With that, I'd take any questions.
When do you think the Monomoy will be put in service? I'm sorry.
Our goal is to have that up. Right now, we have a first week of June delivery date. And at that point, we've been taking the advantages from the shipyard and the advantages from our people, and the testing protocols are going to be simpler. The Coast Guard for the right now, the Aquinnah is so much more simpler. Having the first level of testing, it's kind of the advantages of having three identical vessels. So the testing becomes easier. We're looking at June to bring her up north and get her into service. Got a lot of work to do before that, and so rather than get too far ahead, but that's the schedule.
Prior to summer or
That
probably later in the fall?
no, that's we were looking for a summer operation for that vessel.
Terrific.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
With the governor.
Next, Mark has the MV Barnstable update. Excuse me,
Governor.
MV Governor update. Apologies.
So the governor has just arrived back from Thames Shipyard. Again, because of limited use, we did a shave and a haircut on her, which is kind of an industry term of very limited coatings, very limited. We went through the complete statutory testing for US Coast Guard, and we looked at all the shafting, rudders, et cetera, and this is some pictures of the stern frame area showing the propeller and the rudder. Next photo. This is just some further underwater areas showing the under sponson area, the stern profile. Next slide. This is the Governor chain drive. This has been a reliable system, although it seems somewhat antiquated, but it's still a very functioning system. And, next slide, Sean. So the dry dock highlights obviously shaft and rudder inspections, complete underwater steel gauging by Coast Guard oversight, and the vessel's complete and now back in Fairhaven in the North Slip. So the contract value for this was $285,925. We had change orders, very limited in change orders, so total 250. So the net is 286,175. Would that take any questions?
You couldn't tell us, that a variable the pitch color on there.
No, it's a fixed pitch.
Six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Governor is our fastest vessel in the fleet.
Yeah, well,
Correction,
Correction?
the INO is the fastest vessel in the fleet.
Displacement hull, displacement hull. That was a setup. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, so next, brief update on the status of the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction. So this is actually the same presentation that we provided at Port Council. We'll be looking to separate those going forward. But the just shows an aerial view of the site with the utility building, obviously in the mid left area of that, and above that you can see the where the cranes were doing the geopiers next. And this is the work that they were doing on the geopiers. There were 434 geopiers that needed to be drilled. They're 20 feet down on those, and that's going to be supporting the concrete slab that will be the terminal building will be put on. Next. Just shows a diagram of all the piers that they needed to do, and at the time this was prepared, they were just began the process. Next. Shows some of the interior, so they were able to close in and do the slab on the first floor, and you can see the up above the flooring system for the second floor. Next. And this is when they were working on the roof and the soffits. Next. And we can go. So you can finish that. So as I said, the geopier work has been done. The utility building will be fully enclosed in the next few weeks to allow for the interior work and the installation of the mechanical systems. Installation of the exterior finish materials won't begin until early spring when conditions are a little bit more favorable. The terminal building below slab utilities are mostly in place, and the concrete placement for the foundation slab is expected to start in another 2 weeks. Colin Antonio, who is the contractor on site, will form and pour the exterior concrete walls and then begin installation of the structural steel and the glue lam roof framing. At this point, they're about 35% done with the general conditions of the contract. And on a related but different note, BIA Studios submitted the lead design submission was sent to the United States Green Building Council prior to the end of 2024. And we're waiting to hear comments back from them. At this point, we expect to be reaching gold lead standard. There's only one category above that, platinum, which is not going to be doable for in this case because of the site that it's on. So, and we've sent out 262 emails to update interested parties on the progress on the building. So if you have any questions. All right, so just an update on the Vineyard Haven terminal pier repairs, I believe is next. We received our NEPA permit back in November, and at that time I raised a question as to whether we needed to have a CONCOM permit as well. the State Department looked at that, and the determination came back from Wetlands and Water Resources that even though it's out of the water, that we should be going to Comcom on this project as well. So once we did that, we don't have the contract out on the street. So we'll be delaying this project until the fall. In the meantime, we're getting together with the engineers to be submitting our application to the Tisbury Comcom for review. As a result of the permitting issues, staff has reinstated the freight boat berthing on the island for January and February. So that way the 5:30 trip off island can resume. And this was voted by the board at the July meeting when the schedule was approved. So just want to close the loop on that. Meanwhile, we do have a transfer bridge replacement project that's expected to take place in March. First, the contractor is going over to Nantucket to do the transfer bridges over in Nantucket. We expect 10 days to 2 weeks per transfer bridge to be done, but by the time they get to Vineyard Haven, they probably should have it pretty down pat. So, and that's why we only opened up for January and February for that early trip, because we won't have a slip at some point. So, any questions? All right, next, regarding the IT RFR issuance. So just want to provide an update. So the request for responses, the RFR was issued back on December 10th. We received, thus far, we've received 21 requests for the package. Addendum number 1 was issued back on December 20th. That responded to 9 questions that the proponents had. Addendum number 2 had an additional 20 questions, and I apologize, I meant to get the date on that one. And right now they're working on addendum number 3, as there's 10 or more questions that have since been raised since the last go around. January 10th was the deadline for questions, but with the project is important, we feel it's best to get the questions out ahead of time. We do have a February 7th RFR submittal date is the deadline, but we know that there's at least 2 of the vendors have requested a extension of that. So we'll be looking at how far that extension would be, probably a couple of weeks at this point. So, and I don't know whether Stephen has anything to add, but. Nope.
Satisfied with the responses and the kinds of questions we're hearing and the types of firms you're hearing from?
Very satisfied.
Say again?
Very satisfied.
Tom?
Yeah, happy with the response of vendors and, yeah, so the activity we'd like to see, we're happy with so far.
Good, thank you. Anything? Okay, next,
All right.
pre-season promotion.
Yeah, so next we have, for the past 13 years, we've done a promotion prior to the INO coming back into service, which we've offered a 20% discount on the sale of the electronic high-speed ticket books for a short period. The promotion is quite popular, as last year nearly 47% of the total yearly book sales took place during this promotional period. And it's something for the islanders to be able to plan, a little discount in terms of being able to get on and off island. For the 2025 season, we're looking for the sale to run from March 16th through Sunday, March 16th through Saturday, March 29th. We also, staff also requested the board allow the general manager flexibility to change the proposed preseason dates should the return to the INO be to service be delayed for any reason. We don't anticipate anything, but just in case. So the pricing ends up being, instead of $357.50 for an adult, it goes down to $286. A senior goes from $244 to $195.25. And the children's book goes from $217 to $173.50. At the January 7th meeting, the Port Council voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the matter to the board. So the recommendation is that the members vote to approve the 20% discount on the purchase of all electronic passenger ticket books for the high-speed ferry during the period Sunday, March 16th, 2025 through Saturday, March 29th, 2025, and to allow the general manager flexibility to change the proposed preseason sale date should the return to service so the iron will be delayed.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay. Comes to a vote. All in favor?
Jones, aye.
Randy, aye.
Malcolm, aye. Moira?
Tierney, I.
Thank you, Moira. Okay.
Well-
you've got- While we're on the topic of preseason, I would like to mention that the Head Start program on the Vineyard and the starts in Nantucket as well have gone really well this year. And I asked one of the reporters of one of the papers that covers us, how come you haven't written anything about it? Is it because there's no blood around? And the response was, well, we might get to that. But I do think it's important that the public knows that issues that we've dealt with so far in the past have not happened. And these programs went off quite well this year. So I want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead.
since we're in football season, last week was the wild card. This week is the divisional. We go to the championship and then the Super Bowl in the next coming weeks. So,
But we're definitely in contention.
so
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's important for people to hear some good news when we have it, and we have it. Thank you. All right, our next issue is proposed revisions to the authority's procurement policy.
and I'll turn it over to Terrence.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a catch up from recent developments, but we're seeking the members' approval to revise the authority's procurement policy to incorporate the use of requests for responses. These types of tools, procurement tools, will be used to procure commodities and services. We currently have one out on the street for the reservation system, as we just talked about a couple minutes ago. And essentially, we just need to amend the policy to catch up with that. The Commonwealth's executive branch uses this tool, particularly to obtain contracts for information technology resources, including software and hardware development projects. When we were looking at what we were doing for the reservation system, Mark and some other folks came to me and asked me to take a look at this provision in the regulation. I set it forth in the staff summary that you have. It's relatively straightforward. I then subsequently amended the procurement policy to incorporate the statute 801 CMR 21 into the procurement policy so that it meshed well with what it is. And so we're hoping to get this tool approved so we can move forward with these type of things. And again, the focus there isn't so much the lowest eligible bidder, but it's more the best value that we can buy. And so when we get to the evaluation process, it'll be a slightly different evaluative tool. It'll be the best value as opposed to the lowest eligible responsible bidder, as typically is the case under a request for proposal. So with that, we're seeking the members' approval and we're seeking a vote. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Just to boil that down, this gives us more flexibility.
Yes, sir. Gives you another tool in the box. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
I'll second it.
Okay. Moira, thank you. Okay, it comes to a vote.
Jones, aye.
Randy, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Tierney, I.
Thank you, Maura. Okay, that's done. Implementation of reservation only and use of the blue line, which I've been calling the Islanders standby line. Because, and the reason I've been doing that is the term blue line is confusing to some folks. So calling it Islander standby when in fact that's what it is, seems to help a little bit.
I thought it was a subway,
Good point,
but
Yep.
I'm from another island, so
which has a longer tunnel.
we have a longer tongue, for sure.
Right.
And the name change was something we talked about. We figured it was a little too soon to start on this, to start changing the names around, but it is something we will probably look at in the future to make it a little bit easier to understand.
Well, that's the point. Nobody remembers the blue tags.
No, I used to have one laying around, but I can't find it anymore, so. All right, good morning, gentlemen and Maura. Purpose of this is to provide you with the board with an update on how the Blue Line or Day of Sale has been going for the Vineyard route for 2025. As you know, back in November of 2024, was the result of all the construction that's happening at the terminals. We came to the board and asked if they would be willing to go on a trial basis, Blue Line, now you have me saying it, for 90 days to see how it works to help alleviate the stress at the terminals. Staff prior to had sent out quite a few, over 21,000 mailers to all island residents or anyone within the system with an island address. We also put out social media posts that reached about 13,000 customers across Facebook, Instagram, and X. The authority's marketing communication group also ran ads in the Gazette and the MV Times during the week of January 6th to go. That for those that were not catching it on social media. Their samplers of the mailers are attached in your packets from Diligent. As of now, I actually have someone upstairs tallying some more of the numbers of people utilizing the program. But as of last week, from January 4th to January 8th, the Blue Line was utilized successfully 21 times leaving the Vineyard. Due to space availability, the Blue Line was not needed leaving Woods Hole until January 10th. And then from the 10th to the 14th, it was used 10 times. Overall, the program has been well received and the staff is working to continue enhancing the programs. This is just more of an informational update, so there's nothing needed on this point. Any questions?
Where are we on texting to people who are waiting?
So prior to this meeting, I had IT reaching out to me that they're working on they've been testing it on their end. And now they want me to start testing it and I'll get a write-up done handout for the employees. And I'm hoping sometime this week, beginning of next week, that we'll be going forward with it.
So we currently have texting to people in Nantucket? We're
Yes,
looking
for standby.
For standby?
Mhm.
So can we use the same system?
That's what they're working on, making some modifications to.
Yes?
It's, if I may, it's a system that originated over in Nantucket. We started doing it with Nantucket. So they used to do they stand by a piece of paper and everyone had to keep coming in and this way.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. We modified it for Hyannis because in this case, they can identify whether the vehicle is on property or not because of the frequency of the trips on the Hyannis run. It allows our customers to come in, get in the standby line, but then go off and have dinner or shopping or whatever, and then they'll be notified when it's time to come back. So we have that system. It's just a slight modification, what we need to do for the Vineyard, yes.
Right, and IT has been.
And training for the employees.
IT has been very diligent on testing it to the point where they're trying to, I don't want to say break it, but to make sure that there is no errors or issues that these people are going to have to deal with going forward, so.
Load testing, I don't think it's called breaking it.
I don't know, that's what one of them said it to me, but maybe he was just trying to get it down to my level for me.
Okay, good. No, as soon as we can do that,
Yep.
that's gonna help.
Yeah, so hopefully after this meeting, after Head Start, because I'm helping with that, I will start working on getting a how-to guide together, which shouldn't take long.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Okay, sure,
I'm fine.
all right. Mr. Rosen,
Good morning, everyone.
right,
We got the business summary for the month of November. So for the month of November, passengers carried for both routes combined were just up over 4,400 passengers, 2.3%. Year to date, we're up 14,683 passengers, or 0.5%, with the Vineyard route being up 24,000 passengers, and Nantucket being down on the conventional ferry or aggregate just under 9,800 passengers for the year. Vehicles carried for the month of November, passenger vehicles, and reminder, this is all one-way statistics. The Vineyard route was up 162 vehicles, or 0.4%. Nantucket was down 931 vehicles, and both routes combined are down 1.8%, or 769 vehicles for the month of November. Year to date, both routes combined are down 3.4%, or just under 18,700 passengers. You can see on the Vineyard route, the standard fares are down and the excursion rates are up. And the Nantucket run, the excursion autos are down, but the excursion fare trucks are up. But the standard fares are down there as well. Freight vehicles for the month of November, both routes combined were down 1.1%, or 73 vehicles. Nantucket was down 69 vehicles. The Vineyard was down 69, Nantucket was down 4. But year to date, we're up 0.9%, or 865 vehicles for both routes combined. Cars parked, both routes combined, were up 512 vehicles, or 5.8%, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being fractionally down. But year to date, we're up 1.6%, or just over 2,500 vehicles for car parks. Trip summary.
Oh,
All right. So for the month of November, we had 4 trips canceled for mechanical, 12 for weather, 20 for traffic, and that's both routes combined. And in the purple, you can see the year-to-date percentages, and below that in the green are the previous year's percentages for comparison. Financial snapshot for the month of November. Operating revenues were relatively flat at $7.8 million. We had other income of $1.4 million, which was above budget by $1 million, but that's timing of grant revenue of $1 million. Then we have operating expenses, $11,787,000 was down $8,000. Putting this all together, we had a net operating loss of $2.6 million, which was 1.1 million lower than what we anticipated. We anticipated a loss of about $3.7 million. In addition, we had capital grants in the month of November of $11.7 million that are related to the Aquinnah and the Barnstable. Year to date, we have a net operating income of just over 15 million, which is above budget by 1.9 million. In December, we're projecting by budget about a net operating loss of 5.2 million, which will put us about $1 million above budget, what we anticipated originally. Right now. Operating revenues, as mentioned in the traffic reports, no surprise, the automobile revenue was down for the month, 382,000, or 18.6%. And year to date, we're down 4.5 million, or 10.2%. That's the big, conversation piece that we talked about in the budget as far as the automobile revenue. Operating expenses, you can see we're relatively flat, or down $8,000 for the month. The general expense was down 341, and that's was really a timing issue, where last month we were up 75,000, but year to date in the general, we're pretty flat at up $3,500. As a side note, year to date, fuel expenses down almost $2 million, or 18.1%. Combination of trips and cost. Passengers carried for the month of December, every category was up for one-way traffic. And some of that's a little spillover on the Sunday after Thanksgiving was in December. But altogether, we're up 2.5% for the month of December. Year to date, we're up just over 1,900 passengers, or 0.7%, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down. 19,000 passengers. Okay, and then on the one more slide after that. And then vehicles carried for the year. For the month of December, both routes were up, combined, and this includes freight traffic, 926 vehicles, to 2%. But year to date, total vehicles carried were down just under 16,900, or 2.4%. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has regarding the traffic or the financials.
I have, but looking at the year-to-date numbers through December, in terms of the variances between standard and excursions, both trucks as well as passenger vehicles, it does speak to something that we've talked about before, which is the increasing gap, revenue gap with these excursion fares that we currently have, where we're talking about needing 3.5 full-size cars, full-priced cars for every excursion car just to cover the cost. We do need this year to start looking at that issue in terms of our pricing.
Our plan, if I may.
Go, please.
is, get the audit done first quarter, start working on the IT project. At the same time, coordination with the IT project is to have some working groups talking with people about the excursion programs on the islands. You know, different options that we have, and how to adjust it in the future.
Because if I'm not correct, it started, the excursion fare was about 62% of the cost, and now it's like 32%.
30 in the 30s, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
Investment policy?
Yeah.
Okay, so every 2 years, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts requires us to formally adopt our investment policy. The investment policy is done in the odd years and the debt policy is done in the even years. We are not recommending any changes to the investment policy. It's included in your package. We can invest conservatively on a short-term basis. And right now our funds are in the Mass Municipal Depository Trust Fund, which is a state-sponsored program. Last year, the return was 5.49%. 3 years, 4.22% compared to right now, the T-bills are at 4.21% and last year's at 5.24. So it mirrors pretty closely to the T-bills. Of the fund, 60% has a maturity of less than 1 to 7 days. So it's very liquid, where today I'm doing a movement, and if I can put the request in today and have the funds in our account to disperse if needed. So it's a very liquid investment. At the Port Council, we're recommending no changes from the last time we've done this. And at the Port Council meetings, they voted 5-0 to authorize the investment policy again.
4%, 7 days.
We're getting over 4% right now. You know, so
That's nice.
yes. So
That
was my money.
We have to talk to my bank. Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to authorize the Steamship Authority to maintain its investment policy. And comes to a vote.
John Clark.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, aye.
Thank you, Maura. Malcolm, aye.
Yeah, we're in the 4s right now. That was the last 12 months. So
That's fine. Still good. Procurement.
All right, so the first item, actually, Mark's been working on, so that's into to deal with that one.
in your packet, there's the request to authorize procurement of various equipment for the Fairhaven maintenance facility. Included in that package are work vans, pickup trucks, telehandlers, diesel, boom, forklifts, and scissor lifts. And how this came about is in the previous capital budget, we had equipment vehicles for purchase for $497,000. We work with MassDOT. They had some funds available through the ferry boat discretion program for in the Fairhaven UZA. Our grants coordinator, Caroline Muldoon, working with Derek Cravat, was able to put this together where we can purchase this equipment instead of renting some of the equipment for a location at an 80-20 match, which will take care of our vehicle needs. That was in last year's budget for net out-of-pocket price for less than for all this equipment for less than what we had for a few vehicles last year. Pardon? We're 20 and the federal government's 80.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So it's a net cost. So you're looking at a cost of out of pocket, it'll be about $288,000 for us.
For $1,400,000
Yes.
worth of equipment.
Yes. And then any of the vehicles, but the equipment has to be staged in Fairhaven
Mhm.
or start in Fairhaven. So the vehicles we have in Fairhaven will bring to Falmouth and put the vans in Fairhaven. And then we'll start eliminating some of the rentals that we have with some of this equipment.
Great.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve this. Comes to a vote.
Jones, aye.
Randy, I.
Tierney, I.
And Malcolm, I. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Request for authorization. Change order 78.
Okay, so requesting authorization to execute change order number 78 for contract number 9B 2012, which is the contract for final design and construction administration services with BIA Studios for a fixed amount of $940,000, $935 to cover construction administration phase services, including inspections and testings for 2025. In section 8.3 of the contract, the parties had acknowledged that there was no reasonable basis on which to establish what the fee would have been at the time the contract was executed. So the determination was made at that point that this would be reviewed annually, and we'd be coming back with the construction administration. So the change order number 78 we're seeking approval for the construction administration services for 2025 and cover administration phase services, including inspections, testing for the Woodsall Terminal project.
Question. If this goes beyond December 31st, 2025, do they have to come back for another authorization?
There'll be another one for 2026 because we still have site work and things like that. So it's and the estimates, I don't have the exact number, but it's been each year has been pretty close to. I think there was a couple of years there that we actually had some credits that applied towards the next year. So
My follow-up question. Was this anticipated?
yes, so when we went into the contract with it to be projecting out 6-7 years as to what testing services would be necessary, it was determination that it'd be just too difficult to do and to establish. So the contract has said they come back on an annual basis to review this and what their anticipated construction oversight will be.
In our planning for this, we had a plot.
Yes, yes.
Do we have a total of where we stand today on what it's cost us for the design?
I don't have that with me, but we can,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe next time. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what all of these different projects through 10 years have added up to here, but much more than what I thought we were starting with.
Been what, 13 years on this project?
We started the feasibility back in 2012. So we're on year 13. So between the all the feasibility work that was done, permitting, the temporary terminal building, the marine, tearing down the old buildings, the delays in getting because of COVID and because of the changes in the terminal building, it's been a long haul.
I think the first dream was somewhere around 6 years. Is that correct?
That's roughly was the original
Dream
time.
number one.
Yeah, I think that was the original time frame. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We need a vote.
We need a vote.
So
Yes.
motion to approve that.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. It comes to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Jones, aye.
Randy, I.
Tierney, I.
Thank you. Malcolm, I. Okay. All the new business, sir?
So under all the new business, I note that typically following the general manager's review, there's a development of a proposed goals for the next year. And since my review didn't occur back in last year, I figured we better get the goals on the record and the same thing. So, there's put together 10 in terms of the reconstruction of the Woods Hole Terminal building, continuous development of the SQMS, the development, continued development of the strategic planning, solicitations for a solar developer here at Palmer Ave, award of a contract for the vehicle and passenger reservation system, evaluate the vessel replacement program, pursue grants, improve community relations, recruitment and development of the staff. This is through all areas of the company. And then the other terminal projects as they come up, whether it's the working on the pier in Vineyard Haven or building, maintaining buildings and the like. So did present this to the Port Council, and the Port Council voted unanimously to recommend approval.
Thank you.
Well, that adds to the projects already, seeking conclusion here. Because we got a lot on our plate right now.
One or two items, yes.
Huh?
One or two things on the plate right now.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta be careful when we add and just not make sure that we can accomplish them.
I'd like to suggest that there are, sorry. This was off. I'd like to add that there are two things that I'd like to consider, and perhaps some of these we might take off so as not to add too many. One would be I talked about this briefly earlier, a review and a discussion regarding alternative energy and the capital and the grants and or the operational impact involved there. So I'd like to get that out of the way. And then the other thing would be, since Bob, you're going to be transitioning to a new role, I think it would be very helpful if you were to, one of your goals would be to help the successful transition to whoever follows you. Now, if that means we should take a couple of these current things out, or not, I just don't want to have too many goals. I think those are pretty important.
So I think in terms of the alternative energy, I tried to cover that in goal number 6, evaluate alternatives for the authority's vessel replacement program, including opportunities to develop a sustainability action plan. So that'll be looking at, what we would need to be doing with the current, it's not only what we need to be going forward in terms of additions, subtractions to the fleet, but what modifications we could be doing to the fleet in terms of whether it's, converting one of these OSVs to a hybrid or the Woods Hole or whatever, whether we start looking at, we're a ways away, 18 years, so we're probably a good 5 years away from, start fully developing what we need to do for the big life for the island home, but that will be something that we'll want to make sure that we have on our radar screen as well in terms of what we could do for that vessel. So,
I don't want to wordsmith that, but as long as we're comfortable that that includes the issue of alternative energy in number 6, then I'm okay.
and then I think, unless you want something more specific, I think the development of the administrative staff and everything else that I again fully intend on providing any information that my successor will be needing and to make that person's succeed. So,
If you're comfortable with that, I'm good.
that's the one.
Moira, any comments on this?
No?
Okay, good. Well, I think.
Thank you for asking me, though.
Of course.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
Jones, aye.
Randy, I.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, no. Okay,
Anyway, so
strategic plan.
we're coming up on an hour, so we move everything else along. So, I think we have Emily. Had been on here earlier. Yeah, must be.
There.
Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Emily,
Yes.
can you hear me?
There we go. I think that might be better.
Okay, Emily. Assuming you have a presentation to make, one of the things that I'd like to guide you towards is where are we specifically? Do we have the staff to do the things that we need to do? Should we be doing all of the things at once or focusing on several, getting them done and then moving forward? And also, to what extent are we sort of organically getting some of this stuff done anyway? But I'd really like to get a sense from you in depth, given the money and time that's gone into this throughout the organization, in terms of where we are, where we need to go, whether we are doing it appropriately, and what course corrections, if any, should we be making?
Okay.
And that's just my
I may
2 cents.
surprise you, Mr. Milken. No, I appreciate that. I think it's helpful to have the context of what you hope to achieve during kind of your working session and conversation this afternoon. Or this morning. I will be honest, I did not prepare a presentation because I was hopeful that it would be more discussion oriented. I see an internet connection. Can you all hear me okay?
Neck open.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. It's not being a very strong Wi-Fi. So, you know, I am happy to sort of give you my read of the last 9 or so months of the implementation process, and then looking ahead and perhaps suggestions and recommendations. As you all know, this is a very collaborative approach. We knew after developing the strategic planning framework that, the real work begins with implementation. And I think it's important to first acknowledge how far the organization has come, from developing its first strategic plan in over 30 years, and then, putting the resources and the staffing behind them to, begin the implementation work. So I'm happy to walk you through kind of what we've done. We sort of landed on the quarterly reporting process, which I think you all received in your packets back in the fall, and then again in December for the third quarter report. And then, our intention, of course, is to continue working with staff to round out the fourth quarter report here in the first part of the new year as the data is coming in. If I were to reflect on the organization's progress, I think, given that this is a brand new endeavor to staff in particular, and given the incredible staff that you have that are juggling and wearing many hats, and some of the challenges in large scale projects that this organization has had to balance, from the IT, reservation system, RFP process, and the reprioritization of where to invest in the technology needs, brand new vessels and the capital improvement project in Woods Hole Terminal, and managing through both the budgetary and just the capital delivery aspects of those types of projects. you know, I feel fortunate that we were able to get some of the staff and team leads time to really give the strategic plan the attention that it needs. So, you know, if I were to summarize where the organization is now, I would say that, you know, the kind of the meat on the bones or the implementation or the action items associated with what the framework laid out from the board and Port Council in terms of strategies, priorities, where to focus efforts, is certainly well underway. I would say it's, you know, 50–60% complete. I would be remiss to say there are areas that are in still need of greater attention, I think, and staff capacity. Part of that is a result of leadership transition. So, you know, Mr. Malkin, as you mentioned, the improve, maintain, and green our infrastructure strategic outcome area is lagging, I would say, a little bit relative to the other four. And that's okay. So I think our focus there now is to determine, as Bob and I have talked, you know, who is the team lead and support the organization as you all work to fill that critical COO role, and bring them up to speed on what conversations have been had and how to begin to kind of push that one forward a little bit more aggressively relative to the other strategic outcome areas. And those things happen in an organization. I think on a positive note, as I read through the strategic plan and the implementation work plan that results, so all of the initiatives and the tactics and the to-dos that we've built around each of these 5 strategic outcome areas, I do think that it reflects all of the things that are going on in the organization. And so is it aligned and is it relevant? Absolutely. Are there real conversations around capacity and prioritization? Yes. I mean, I think, you know, we have remained sensitive throughout to staff's capacity, and I think they have been generous with their time when we are with them on site, especially in the early spring as we developed out the work plan, because that was really the transition from this is the guidance that our governing bodies have given us. Now, how do we go make it a reality? How do we build a work plan to focus our efforts? And I think, you know, they've been committed to that. I think they have seen the value of the alignment of the strategic priorities of their leadership and their governing body with how they go about their day-to-day. And a lot of this first year has been the balancing act of still maintaining, you know, the expectations around service delivery, which are very high for an organization like this, while also chipping away at the strategic priorities and progress outlined in the plan.
You know, for someone who wasn't,
go ahead.
For someone who wasn't prepared to do a presentation, that wasn't bad. So let me,
Thanks.
let me push a little bit on that. You said that
Sure.
the absence of a COO has caused some slippage. Now, what areas do you feel have been slipping?
I think we talk about the layers of the plan. So essentially, when you all approved the framework early last year, what it did was begin to what we did and really up until the summer was create these team leads and teams that took what you all kind of told them were the initiatives and strategic priorities for the organization and began to add the layers. And so those layers were beginning with initiatives, say those are 2 to 3 years, 1 to 3 years, depending on what the particular action item is. Okay, what do we need to do in the next 12 to 18 months? And what's the checklist under that helps you ensure that you get that done in the next? And so we sort of built these work plans within the organization to advance each of those initiatives that were laid out and approved by you all in the plan. And I think that's the part that has fallen behind somewhat. I think the layers are there, but the progress was, frankly, I think, competing with the demands of your busy summer schedule and some of the challenges that you all faced over this last year as it related to, you know, expectations around service delivery and operations, right? And those things will happen. And I think then with the departure of the COO, you know, we've sort of hit pause to make sure that we could figure out who the right team lead is, get them up to speed, and then really begin to determine how to make progress in those areas. And so if you look at the reports, especially in second and third quarter, that particular outcome area, we're still working to kind of develop those KPIs, which are very important to you all and require collaboration with Mark Rosem and his team as well. A lot of them oriented around capital delivery and your ability to sort of maintain on time, on budget, with the massive projects that you have underway already, and those that you want to start preparing for and planning for in the future with vessel replacement and sustainability and kind of greening your infrastructure. So it's a heavy one to begin with, right? It's a big outcome area. And that's not to say that there wasn't progress made. I think there's a pretty good work plan. I think through the leadership transition and operational demands in the summer, it sort of lost pace a little bit relative to some of the others.
Okay, thank you. I'd invite the senior management is here. So I'd invite anybody to, talk into this. Where do we need attention? Where are things not getting done? Where do people need staff or direction? Emily's referred to some of this. And, I'd be delighted to hear from the people who are involved in getting it done, what their senses are, should we be trying to get all of this done right away, or should we take 3 things and work on those? How do we deal with the finite amount of staff we have and the huge amount of things that we're trying to get done? So that's an open question to anybody, board, staff, Bob?
Yeah. It's taken us, a good year to put the plan together as it is today, and we know it's a moving document. I look at a strategic plan as what are we going to do tomorrow? I think the strategic plan is catching up with what we've done today. And I just think I'm looking for a roadmap into the future. And I don't know, I can't say when I'm sitting here that I'm following a strategic plan. I'm following a current day need and addressing it. So, but I still think a strategic plan is helpful, but I think we gotta escalate ourselves beyond today and start thinking about tomorrow, that we have goals to achieve. We know we've achieved them if we've put them on the books and we financed them and we're moving forward. I don't know. I've different boards I've been on that had strategic plans. I hate to say it this way, that it doesn't take too long after the presentation that they're put on the shelf and they're moving forward. So I don't know. I'm interested in what your thoughts on that. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I appreciate. I do, right? It should feel like the plan is a stretch and a guide. It's your Northern Star, right? Your vision certainly is for where you want the organization to go and how you organize your efforts around that. This is just me as someone who's been along the journey with you all. I think your plan is a pretty strong combination of things that are already in process and things that are new and kind of point you in directions you need to go. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I think it's important to have some areas of alignment. So, the website and the IT replacement, the reservation system replacement, those were kind of tactics built out from things that you knew required attention, right? That the organization was at a point where they had to modernize the underbelly of their IT structure and information system to the needs of the organization and their constituents and customers going forward. And you all are, embarking on that process now and have still a good ways to go with the RFP on the street and all that comes from there. I think there are initiatives in the plan that intentionally with staff when we went through the prioritization exercise, we told them you can't, you know, and Janice's area comes to mind, which is the employee strategic outcome area. I mean, I think there were 7 or 8 initiatives, right? And Janice and her team are mighty, but there's, you know, 2 or 3 of them. So we went through the process of saying, what are the most important initiatives to prioritize right now for the organization? And as we bring those to fruition, we rise up the other 4. And so I do think there are parts of your plan that, you know, haven't really been touched, and that's okay. Those are those future aspirational pieces of where you need to get to. And the capital planning piece, I think it's a lot of your kind of green sustainability focus, right? The conversion conversations that you've begun to have, Mr. Malcolm, that you brought up as kind of an area of focus for this year, and needing kind of the guidance first before developing the plan. And I think there was, you know, intentionality around bringing your new vessels up here and getting them in service. And that was a heavy lift for all of those involved, and a great success that is kind of materializing at the moment. And in the plan, you see sort of the next iteration, which is a more kind of deliberate and thoughtful asset management and vessel replacement process, right? That in the future begins to add a little bit more depth to your ability to plan for major capital needs, and doing so in a way that kind of meets your sustainability goals. So in my humble opinion, I think your plan is a mix of both, and it is dense. And so when you get into the details of the initiatives and kind of the work plan that staff is working through, some areas are moving along nicely, and we assume so because they were already underway. And a good plan is going to have a mix of things that are already in progress that are leading you towards your vision, and those things that are yet to come, but that you need to start planning for and preparing for in your work planning efforts year after year.
I'm good with it.
I don't know if that helped.
Janice, since you got named, could you give us a sense of the actions that you have underway as a team leader for these things? And again, do you have the staff? Do you have the time? How do you feel? How comfortable are you with the progress?
So as far as invest in our employees is the initiative for the human resource team. So one of the most important to me is the onboarding process, really understanding what our new employees are looking for. Is there a platform that they have access to? And one of those is an onboarding platform. So we're partnering with Mark and his team with the Business Central, hope that having a resource available to employees to log into, to update their own information, taking some of the burden off of HR. Recruiting, obviously top of mind for everyone, not only our union positions, but the non-union. We have obviously the COO and other opportunities that we're trying to fill. So when I look at, I feel confident that we're progressing nicely. As far as staffing goes, I'm comfortable with that at this stage. Again, if we can start moving away from paper, not only through our onboarding process, but with our open enrollment benefits time of the year, that gets really cumbersome. Uniforms is another area that we need to focus on, getting away from paper, moving on to a more digital environment. So, but all in all, I would say that I'm comfortable at this stage with the progress.
Okay, that's in terms of the strategic plan, but the tactical stuff that I think Mr. Jones was talking about in terms of staffing, for example, and we'll talk about this next month, you know, what's open, what do we need to do, how do we get people in-house, how do we get them there? Retention, staffing, recruiting, so on and so forth.
I think at this time, honestly, the non-union open positions were heavier than we have been in the past since I've been here. But obviously there's a plan in place for that. It's been paused a bit with the hiring of the COO, Director of Marine Operations, Port Engineer. Those positions, we've always had success, to be honest with you, in hiring those with our maritime experience and our relationships that we have. So again, it's really just pressing the start button again and really putting those positions on the burner to move forward. The non-union or, yeah, the union positions, well, the trades, those tend to be harder positions to fill. But we do have great relationships with, I mean, you know, Indeed is one of the platforms that we use to recruit. And I would say 90% of the positions that we fill are through either our website or Indeed, the online platforms. So we have great relationships with some of the vocational schools as well. So again, those tend to be harder to fill positions.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of discussions, say with Mark Abinson, we are down tradespeople in various places.
Yeah.
We're challenged in the Christians.
And actually, we submitted some resumes to Matt Keller and Mike Bentley for electricians, machinists, and welders over the last week or so.
Okay.
So.
Anything else from you, Emily? Anything that we should be talking about that we're not, areas where you see we should be putting some more horsepower?
No, I think you have a solid roadmap and you're having the right conversations around capacity and prioritization. I would say, you know, as you've journeyed through this process and are kind of moving into your third year, where it can be very beneficial for staff is keeping the document living through that kind of prioritization process. So Mr. Melkin, a lot of the discussion you were having around the general manager's goals and, you know, what should we add, what should we take off, what should be of higher focus or lesser focus. The plan has that kind of flexibility built into it. And I think, you know, as you move towards perhaps a joint session in March, taking some time to kind of reassess and say, okay, what is still relevant, what's new that wasn't on our radar, you know, a year and a half ago and now is, and what things have moved on, and can we help provide some prioritization to staff around how best to use, you know, the limited capacity they have.
I think, Bob?
Well, in terms of that, have had discussions with Emily and the rest of the Reptiles team about the possibility of at March trying to get a group meeting. There's a number of new members on the Port Council. It's been over a year. It's coming up on a year since the group has talked about that. So that was one thing I was going to bring up as to whether the board want to pursue some sort of joint meeting in that regard.
Yeah, I think the board.
I do too.
I think the board agrees with that. And also, Emily, at that point in March, we'd also like to talk about areas like, as you just said, reset, but also have some sort of a dashboard so we could see where we are in each of these things. There's some sort of a presentation that would be a living document that we could see each month where we're making progress, where we're falling behind. That would be very helpful, certainly for me. Again, for many of us going into this process, and to Mr. Jones's point of view, I've been in lots of organizations where strategic documents turned into great things to fill a filing cabinet. And we put too much time, effort, and money and attention into this. I'd like to see it really succeed. Anything further from any members of the board on this topic? Go ahead, Bob.
I think the work that the staff is, you know, Emily and Janae and Julia to be working on this. I see there's a commitment from the team here to make sure this is a success, and we realize it's going to be a living document going forward. So,
do any members of staff who's here have any comments or any input to make into this discussion? No? Okay. Well, then, thank you. Anything further?
thank you, Emily.
Thank you all.
See you soon.
Thank you. Good to be with you all.
Okay.
Yes.
Unless any members of the board or any members of staff have anything they want to add. we'll go into public comment, I guess.
Wait,
ahead.
we'll wait till March.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait to have a report in March. All right, Sean?
Sure, if anyone has public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon, and I've got Bob Morris.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, pick up on a couple of things that have come up during the meeting and in the news lately. Understand that the construction on the Woods Hole Terminal is going to proceed through the summer. I think that was just announced this week. You have instituted a blue line, which I guess is an express line for islanders. And I hear that in Hyannis, you are somehow aligning or staging vehicles who can go off and go to dinner and be notified when they're ready to board. What I'm wondering is, has any planning been done for Woods Hole for this summer if your terminal property is going to be fully covered, or say 60% covered with the construction? Have you considered either staging vehicles up at Thomas Landers Road, or maybe pre-clearing vehicles the way you're doing in Hyannis, and having giving them a pass, maybe via their phone, so that Woods Hole won't get just locked up this summer? Has any planning been done on that?
Well, in that regard, so the Woods Hole Terminal construction during the summertime will be limited to within the buildings. It's not going to be any large pieces of equipment. We could try to keep that down just to keep the project moving. The blue line that we're currently doing, this is a trial period for 90 days, and staff will be evaluating that, the results of that, and making a recommendation going forward. We do have a number of reservation-only days already on this route during the summer season. So again, we'll evaluate the criteria and make a recommendation to the board at a future meeting. So. Okay.
And at this point,
So-
there is no regular standby, sir, at the terminals. It's just the blue line standby, not regular customers.
For an alert system such as
Correct. Yep, so that'll be an alert system where once we fill up the space in the property, we don't have room anymore, they put their name on the list. They can drive off into town, and when we have room on the property, they get a text message to come back down.
But you will be bringing them to Woods Hole.
Well, it's
Well,
blue line, but yes.
We'll be evaluating that, and there may be opportunities to try to capture those vehicles, so that way they're not going back and forth on Woods Hole Road. So that'll be part of our, any recommendation to expand the reservation only. We'll be looking at that as an option.
Thank you. I'd encourage that. That's it. Thanks.
He encourages it.
Thank you. Suzanne, bring you up next.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I'd like to see Woods Hole mentioned more often in your meetings. It's a very business focused and Martha's Vineyard focused, but there's an enormous impact on the village and has been for years. One of the topics I would like to see more focus on is speeding up the pollution reduction. Mr. Davis mentioned the 5 years till he could get to the island home. That's way too long for people who live here on a regular basis. I mean, that should really be part of your roadmap to consider where you're stationed. I mean, it's as if we aren't really in the conversation. But I would like to comment that someone mentioned, Mr. Davis mentioned person, which is a reset. I'm grateful for the fuel review, if that can help reduce pollution. And Mr. Jones, you mentioned a strategic focus on the future. We need a great deal more of that, especially as it relates to Woods Hole, or in addition. And the green conversion plan can't come soon enough. Thank you.
You. Kate Warner.
I just wanted to ask, I think Jim said that the focus on alternative fuels or alternative propulsion would be in March. Is that correct, Jim? That's the focus month for that? Can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm wondering, are you going to hold then, you had appropriated funds to design a hybrid Woods Hole boat. You appropriated the funds a year ago. Bob Davis has also said that he would develop a long-term plan for the vessels in terms of greatly reducing emissions. Will both of those things be on hold until the March meeting, or are you going to do something about those two topics before then?
No, if I understand your question correctly, no, this is something that the staff will continue to work on, and where we're at, and it'd be more of an update as to where we're at March.
So do you anticipate doing a contract with Elliott Bay sooner than that to get going on a long-term plan?
We had to have the discussions with them regarding their availability to be able to, and the timing of any such plan. So it'd be premature at this point to be, I expect that they'll be more than willing to do this, but I need to confirm with them.
Could there be an update at the next board meeting, please?
Certainly.
And what about the Woods Hole design? Is that on hold, or is that part of your thinking with the plan?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is that in our 2024 capital budget, there was a line item to begin some of the design and engineering, looking forward to a new build. And at this point, we're still working on that. It was going to be a multi-year process on that. It wasn't a 1 year line item. I think it was at least 2, if not a 3-year line item. So we'll be looking at that. And as as we had done before with Elliott Bay, we started with that vessel, looking at it being the newest one, and they have all the data regarding the performance of that vessel, as to what options we would have that would be feasible in terms of modifications either to that vessel or to a new build.
All right, well, it would be great if there could be an update on that too. Thank you.
I've got Mr. Trumbull. Nat, you're muted.
Good morning, Nat Trumbull. As you know, the Enabling Act allows for a public hearing in advance of its proposed scheduling, and then the Steamship Authority issues a Section 15A report about schedules. The Steamship Authority is currently operating a 5:30 a.m. freight ferry from Vineyard Haven to Woods Hole, in my view, in direct violation of its Steamship Board-approved Section 15A report for 2025. The Steamship Authority in its approved Section 15A report for 2025 lists no 5:30 a.m. freight trips from Vineyard Haven or from Woods Hole between January 4th of this year and April 12th of this year. More than 50 Falmouth residents submitted a petition on April 29th last year concerning the Steamship Authority's 2025 freight schedule. The Section 15A public hearing was held on May 7th last year. Nonetheless, the current schedule does not follow that section 15A report. To summarize, the current freight boat schedule at 5:30 a.m. from Vineyard Haven is operating in direct contradiction to the freight schedule description in the Steamship Authority Enabling Act Section 15A report that the Steamship Authority Board approved on August 20th. My question is, how can you address this problem?
So I'll start here. So in terms of the Section 15A report, the staff did recommend the continuation of the 5:30 trip in the summertime from Woods Hole to the Vineyard, and also included the recommendation to include the 5:30 trip off island. When we presented the winter schedule to the board, we were working on the basis that there's going to be construction at the Vineyard Haven terminal. But we provided the board with the option that should that construction not take place, we wanted to reinstate the 5:30 trip off island. As I mentioned earlier, that construction is not taking place at least for the month of January and February. And so we did reinstitute that 5:30 trip as per the vote of the board back in July. So
If I could follow up, none of that language made it into the report, and to the contrary, the Enabling Act says that all seasonal schedule changes do require a public hearing and Section 15A report. When I look at the schedule online, when I read the Section 15A report today, there is no 5:30 a.m. boat mentioned between January and April 12th.
So the 15A report actually was issued following that July meeting. It wasn't issued at the July meeting, so.
And I certainly know how the board voted on that issue. Terrence?
Well, I'm not sure what Mr. Trumbull's reading, but I mean, under the discussion section on page 10 of 13, Mr. Trumbull, it says the authority will continue to operate its 5:30 a.m. freight trip from Woods Hole and Vineyard Haven during its 2025 summer operating schedules.
Yes, exactly. We anticipate that scheduling. My question is about the winter schedule, and specifically.
Oh, I see.
April
Okay.
12th. There's some.
I just wanted to clarify that.
There is no
Okay.
5:30 boat mentioned during the winter schedule.
I thought the petition originally was about the summer operating schedules, was it not?
Well,
Your original petition was about the summer operating schedules, was it not?
The schedule you proposed was for the whole year, and our comments were for the whole year.
Well, I guess.
The comments noted.
Okay, Mary?
Thank you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the meeting I had. I'm a longtime resident. I'm a member of the SMART Citizens Action, as well as the one that was just created in the Vineyard concerning SSA. I am too concerned about the 5:30 bus or freight schedule and the trucks and the pollution coming along Woods Hole. But today I wanted to ask, at the very beginning of this meeting, the first speaker mentioned a very interesting discussion about the historic wall in Woods Hole regarding the terminal. And I was wondering if there could be some elaboration as to what that was before it, becomes a done deal. So we understand what was so interesting about this and what may be happening to that historic wall. That was one question. Second question was on the blue line as it applies to Woods Hole. I would like to request that there be some community participation in the final recommendation, or before there's a final recommendation, on how the traffic and staging would occur in the Woods Hole area on that blue line, the idea that you can just go off in the town of Woods Hole and park and find, wait till you get your text message to come back to the terminal is bordering on laughable for those of us that live in Woods Hole. We know there's no place to park. And then the third topic was, in your strategic plan, is there any long-range view for moving freight traffic to New Bedford and out of the very small area of Woods Hole, that village? And that should be something that should be part of a strategic plan, since it was said that it was a 30-year plan, that you're looking out 30 years. And these are major construction projects. So certainly, rather than building in a place that is not a freight terminal, moving freight traffic to New Bedford, which is a freight port, would make a lot of sense. And I'm wondering how that's being addressed in your long-range strategic plan. So those were the three topics that I wanted to touch on: the historic wall, the blue line, and having community involvement in Woods Hole, and thirdly, the freight. Thank you.
The wall, I don't believe it's historic. Just goes back to, we believe it may have been a remnant left over from the railroad days. It was buried underground when we were doing the drillings to determine what the materials were. That wall was never never struck by any of the test drillings that we had done. So there was some granite. It's been removed. We're going to be reusing it on site.
So there was no effort to take a look at it for any historic value or to retain it? Or it was just disposed of and reused? Was there any evaluation as to its historic value in that community?
No, I think with the position of the stones and everything, they're quickly determined that it was not a any sort of historic artifact. So.
And you brought in somebody that was from a conservation commission or something to help make that decision, or was it just site engineers?
Site engineers.
Okay. Thank you.
And Gil Sanborn.
Good morning. I first want to agree with Jim Malkin in celebrating the success of Head Start. I was on last week, I was on this week, and waiting for that clock to wind down was like waiting for Y2K, and successfully executed my business very expeditiously and posted the good news on your Facebook page. So you all ought to have high fives around the table on that work. I wanted to just, with respect to the strategic planning, to see what you all are doing with respect to best practices in reaching out to other organizations, ferry companies, et cetera, other companies in the retail business, even airlines, with respect to incorporating what's out there, evaluating what's out there and how it can be of help to you all. And I noticed, I looked at Stacy's biography on her firm website, and she mentions best practices on there. So would just like to understand what you all do with respect to that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure who Stacy is, but okay. Yeah, so in terms of it, in terms of the steamship operations, we do, we do contact other ferry operators, or we're part of a association where meet on a fairly regular basis to discuss industry issues and items and how best to address anything. So we don't operate in a vacuum. We do work with other, whether it's the local RTAs or whether it's other ferry operators throughout the country. We have those discussions frequently.
Okay, thank you.
And Jeff Ruskin is the last one.
Hi, good morning. I'm Martha's Vineyard resident, and Mr. Malkin, you know, I sent you a note last week regarding the format of these meetings. I have found, and others I've spoken to tend to agree that using the webinar format is particularly off-putting for the public. A public meeting before Zoom always had the public in person, and so we could assess who was attending along with you. That's not possible in this format. I don't even know from looking at the screen how many folks are logged in, nor can I see, except for a couple of heads, how many people are in the room with you. It's not a complicated process to switch this to the open meeting Zoom format and still maintain the decorum that's necessary for a meeting to go forward without interruption. And my question is simply, will you seriously consider that? And if so, when might we expect the change?
Sure.
This is Malcolm, Doug.
Yep.
There's been some talk about it. The talk isn't done, but one of the points that comes across is that this is a business meeting of the board as opposed to an open meeting in a different type of format. However, the points that you've raised are certainly interesting, and it's something that's continued to be discussed.
May I follow up?
And I may just point out as well that this meeting actually is open to the public. At the moment, there is no public in the room, but these meetings are open to the public. We provide the Zoom, much like we did previously, where we used to have someone come in and film these, and then those videos were provided to the local community TV to play. This is a format that we are able to provide that on a quicker basis.
And also, the other thing, Doug, I'd add is that at the beginning of each meeting, attendees in the room are identified to the audience.
Thank you. Can I follow up quickly?
Yeah, sure.
So, quick question. Are you obligated to follow Massachusetts open meeting law?
Yes,
Is that a yes?
and yes, and we do.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. So then I would argue that the fact that it's a business meeting is not pertinent to the issue. Public meetings are public meetings, and public expects to participate and know who's involved. And we can all be on mute. You can control that from your end. I mean, the technology is there. So I'd appreciate it if you take it up seriously and make the change. Thank you.
Yeah, one more. John Dowling.
Oh, it's not John Dowling, it's Judith Dowling, and I'd like to identify myself to the board and say that I have found my first board meeting very interesting. The issues surrounding Woods Hole. I have been a resident of Falmouth in Quistit area for over 50 years, and I live on Ransom Road off the Woods Hole Road. And I'm sure what I'm going to say you've heard millions of times, but I do wonder how many of you have ever spent, maybe even on particularly in the summer, an hour or so parked near the Woods Hole Road area, so you can see the freight that careens down the road. And I stress the word careen because it's quite terrifying to see these huge freight trucks. And you know, if they had to stop quickly, they wouldn't be able to do it. So that's just a broad spectrum of what I think any reasonable person would say about these huge freight trucks coming down a 2-lane Woods Hole Road. And I would like to ask the board, as previous speakers have, what is your long-term plan, considering that the bridge is going to eventually close? And how are is the freight going to come into this area more easier, shall we say? And I just will be here as a fly on the wall, so to speak, just to know as we go forward, what is the plan for the freight? I was here early in the meeting and saw the financial reports, and it's no mystery to anyone that the freight brings a huge amount of income to the Steamship Authority. So having said all of that, I want to just again commend you all for the effort you put into what you do, and thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. May I make a quick comment in a response to that? And thank you for your point. The issue of growth is something that the islands face as well as the Cape faces. And just to remind you that the trucks that go careening through Woods Hole then wind up careening through Martha's Vineyard, going down a hill in Vineyard Haven as well. It is, and if they're careening, that's a law enforcement issue, I think, and a speeding issue. But your point is taken. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have.
You didn't take it before?
I did.
No.
Oh, that was the other one, sorry. Margaret Hanneman.
Thank you. Hello all, and I wanted to address your discussion of the strategic plan that you had as the last item on your agenda. When I saw it, I assumed that you would be speaking from discussing the December 2024 update. And it didn't seem like that was happening. The update is interesting. There's every category has some kind of percent progress. Upgrade the website is 31% progress. Employee retention is 75. And I have no idea of how these percents were generated. So I'm asking, did the organization go through an all-day strategy meeting to talk through the different points of the strategic plan and to decide how we're making progress on it? And why not more, a little bit in-depth discussion, unless it's being done in some other form? Thank you.
So to begin with, there was an all-day, there was a workshop in which the board council and staff had, and that was, I believe it's it's on our YouTube page. And the report, this is a quarterly report that's provided to the board and port council as to how staff has been continuing to work with Raptilus on these goals. And, they end up being a moving target. So in terms of development as things change. So, this is a measure, a step that we can use to be measuring, make sure that we're looking at all the items that were discussed during that workshop. So
And just as an addition, the percentages are derived from the key performance indicators under each goal and each initiative within the goal. So those percentages are not random. They're a compilation of the different tasks and the percentage of completion of those tasks within each subsection.
The percentages are generated from Raptilus' software.
Yeah, and our staff's reporting into that software.
Just one quick.
Go ahead.
One quick follow on. So, I mean, I'll take that and then I'll drop this because, as Jim Malcolm would say, we probably have many more important things to focus on. But the upgrade the website is 31%, but all of the subtasks are all complete. So I don't know. It just, you know, who knows? But I'll let it go. There are more important and I won't bring them up here at this
We
point.
get the same question, Margaret, as the financial person here, I had the same question, how these percentages were being generated, and they have an algorithm behind the scene, depending on how far along it is and the weighting of it.
And the other thing, Margaret, is the website is currently on hold.
Okay.
Seeing nothing further? Okay. Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authorities meeting in executive session on the 16th of December and the 30th of December, 2024. And review authority strategies with respect to real estate and collective bargaining, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. The matters include potential lease of Brooks Road parking lot with Cape Cod Gateway Airport and anticipated and ongoing negotiations with Teamsters Local 59 and MEBA's District Number 1 PCD. Public disclosure of more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purpose for which the executive session is being called. After the conclusion of the executive session, we will not reconvene in public. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and seconded? Okay, there's a motion been made and seconded. It comes to a vote. All in favor, roll call.
John's aye.
Randy, I.
Tierney, aye.
And Malcolm and I. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff, and thank you, participants and people who attended.